Hello, I'm Julie Peasgood and welcome to TV Cruise Channel's guide to choosing the right ship. Now, I'm sure you've heard me say before that cruising really has never been more popular, and I don't think there's ever been as much choice in terms of cruise lines and cruise ships as there is today. Every year, cruise lines around the world are launching new ships, both big and small, contemporary and luxury. But with so much choice, is there a cruise ship out there for everyone? And if so, how do you choose the right one for you? Well, here to hopefully answer that, in fact I'm sure he will, is the cruise industry expert Andy Harmer from Cruise Lines International Association. Andy, you do have a firm belief, don't you, that there is a cruise ship for everybody?
Absolutely. There are hundreds of ships, all with their own personality, their own style, their own entertainment, their own activities, their own places that they visit. Of course, everyone can find the right cruise for them. OK. Now, I know at CLIA, your association, your organisation, you categorise the ships as family and contemporary. I've got my list here. Family and contemporary, small ship and traditional, premium, ultra luxury and river. Can we look in detail at each of those categories? Of course. Great. Yes. Well, let's start with family and contemporary. So these are ships that are specifically built for families, people who like to do more on their holidays. So whether that's more activities, more daytime fun, ships with more choice. These could almost be land-based customers who maybe go to a big resort hotel where they get choice of activities and stuff and different pools and lots of people around and things like that. So these tend to be bigger ships. The advantage is, of course, that all of those different activities have been loaded on board, so there's lots to do during the day when you're at sea. Yeah. And in the evening, there's those choice of restaurants and bars, and indeed lots of different shows and entertainment opportunities as well. Now, what I should say is they are bigger ships, they take a lot more guests, but they're built in a way that you still don't feel as if you're on a big ship with lots of other people, because they're very cleverly designed into different neighbourhoods. So actually you'll go to a certain restaurant and a bar nearby and the rest of the ship does the same, and so it still feels like you're in a reasonably small hotel with, you know, not too many people. So don't worry about that. OK, great. What are some of the lines in particular if you want to choose a ship for your family, or you want a more contemporary ship with not just the entertainment, but I know ice skating, climbing walls, you know, you can go round, there are huge sort of slides now and you can go round on a bike, can't you, yes, above absolutely. The ship? I mean, there's so much to do. Yes, I mean, the imagination of the people who design our cruise ships in the world really holds no boundaries at all, because they really do, in relatively small spaces, have packed lots of different activities and entertainment for people to do. And because we know that people like to do certain things, but not everybody likes to do the same thing, then lots of choice of activities as well. So you're thinking about cruise lines such as Royal Caribbean, such as P&O Cruises, Carnival Cruise Lines, MSC Cruises, and so on and so forth. Norwegian Cruise Lines, of course, and so on and so forth. And I'm sorry if I missed anybody who really does fit into that category, but these are cruise ships that are great for families. So in out of term time, there'll be lots for the families to do, and then out of term time, then there'll be less families, of course, less children on board, but still lots of stuff to do for adults and couples who want to take a cruise holiday. Yeah. And what about the dining options, Andy? Would you say that there's quite a lot more casual options and certainly that embrace families? Yeah, so I guess in many ways we should take the kids to one side and explain what happens then, because actually there's, of course, kids clubs for them to do during the day, so that if parents want to know that their kids are being looked after and that there's lots of activities and fun for them to do, then they will all offer kids clubs and they'll all be included in the price. Yeah. And they really can be looked after from waking up in the morning till going to bed that evening. And that includes on some cruise lines that there are special dining for the children, even special excursions when you're in ports of call for the children as well. So parents can rest easy that their children are going to have a fantastic holiday. And actually that often means that the parents know that they're going to have a great holiday too. So these cruise ships are built with families in mind. So actually what tends to happen is that the parents will do what they want to do during the day when they're on board. The kids will do their thing and then they'll meet back up for lunch, or they'll meet up for the evening as well. And you mentioned dining. It is, of course, an important part of everybody's holiday. So families can get together in the evening. Yeah.
some of them, most of the cruise lines who have the bigger ships have choice of dining venues, so lots of restaurants to choose from. So all that the family needs to decide is where they're going to eat that evening, and generally what time they're going to eat that evening.
Yeah.
So they really do get that choice, and they can really tailor-make that holiday to their needs.
Yeah, I had a job when I went on a cruise with my daughter when she was younger, dragging her away from the pizzas. But, you know, we do...
Yes, and absolutely. And you know what? There's all of that choice for them as well, including ice cream and everything that keeps a family happy and together.
Exactly. Entertainment, just to touch on that, there's obviously, you know, catering for all ages as well.
Yes, absolutely. So what the cruise lines tend to do is that they separate out the different daytime activities and evening activities by children's age, so that the teenagers are doing stuff in the evening and daytime in a separate part to the ship to the younger children as well, because we know that a lot of teenagers don't want to be considered as a child.
Exactly.
So what the cruise lines tend to do is that they provide certain activities and entertainment tailored to that age group. It's really cleverly done.
Moving on, small ship and traditional. What are some of the lines we might consider in this bracket?
So we're thinking about lines such as Thomson Cruises, Cruise Maritime Voyages, Fred Olsen Cruise Lines, etc., and plenty more choice in that sector as well. So this is really about where the focus is of course on making sure that everybody has a fantastic holiday on board and great food and great service, but the entertainment tends to be a slightly more tamed down version than you get on some of those bigger cruise ships. There's much more focus on relaxed entertainment, relaxed activities, and of course more of that focus on the destination experience as well. So maybe interesting itineraries. Many of those traditional cruise lines will feature sailings out of UK ports. So actually for people who don't want to take a flight or want to fly and start their holiday further away, then they get the choice of sailing from a UK port, which is important for some people too.
Yeah, I was wondering how we're defining, or how you define traditional. Do you think maybe the smaller, more traditional ships as well are offers for people who might be slightly older?
On certain sailings, of course, but you do still get a great mix of ages on board. But of course, certainly on certain sailings and on certain dates, you will find more of our older guests. I think the other thing that earmarks that traditional sector is it tends to be almost exclusively, if not predominantly, British guests on board. So on some of the more international cruise lines, you may get guests from the United States, from Canada, from the rest of Europe. But those more traditional cruise lines, that tends to be a British audience.
That's a very good point, and presumably with that you might get a lot of repeat passengers, a lot of guests who are returning again and again to a cruise line that they grow to love.
Yeah, and also of course many people love to go on holiday to meet other people and get to know other people that maybe live close to their hometown that they don't mind seeing at other times of year as well. But it can be such a sociable holiday if that's what you'd like. You know, the opportunity to meet people on the excursions or on board or over dinner or drinks before dinner, it can be a really sociable experience.
Do you think it's more adults only on the smaller, more traditional ships?
It tends to be. So again, because they're slightly smaller ships, then there tends to be less space for those facilities. So actually the family-friendly cruise ships tend to pack them onto bigger ships, whereas on those smaller, more traditional lines, yes, absolutely, there's less for children to do, so you find less families. And some of the ships or some of the sailings will be for adult only, so that you can make, you know, for those who don't want to travel with children, you can make sure that you can choose those sailings too.
Okay. Quick personal question. Bigger family contemporary ships for you, or the smaller, more intimate?
That's a very bad question. And I think the answer is it depends what type of holiday you're looking for. So I think we all maybe get the opportunity to have different types of holiday with different types of people. So if I was going with my broader family, my longer extended family, then we would possibly choose one of those bigger ships because there'd be more for everybody to do. If it was certain itineraries I wanted to do, if I wanted something a bit more relaxed, then maybe one of the smaller ships.
I think that's called sitting on the fence. Stay with me, Andy. Okay, and please do stay with us. We'll be back chatting more with Andy in just a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to TV Cruise Channel's guide to choosing the right ship. Andy Harmer from the Cruise Lines International Association is still with me, I'm thrilled to say, because we've looked at family and traditional ships, we've looked at contemporary and sort of the larger vessels. We're now moving on to premium. Would you say that sits between contemporary and ultra luxury?
Yes, pretty much. So these tend to it's a bit more of a varied category actually, because some of the cruise lines in this sector have very small ships and some of them have slightly larger ships, but they all are unified in that there's slightly less guests on board per space area that you would get from some of the bigger, more family-friendly ships, and it's possibly less family facilities on board and less for families and children to do, and more of a focus particularly on things like dining and some of the other experiences during the day, such as if you want to learn a new skill or if you want to take part in certain workshops or cooking demonstrations, that kind of thing.
Okay. Would you say it was maybe a sort of next step up for frequent cruisers who just want to sort of, I don't know, visit more specialised ports in an itinerary, or as you say, you know, do different things in the day?
It can be, but I always think that people should start with the cruise line that's right for them. So I don't think that they're going to, you know, it's not a good idea to just choose your cruise ship or your cruise holiday based on price. It should always be one that matches what you're looking for in a holiday. And this category matches those people who may be a bit more adventurous, who maybe want to take in some more of the cultural experiences that are available. So, for example, a couple of the cruise lines in this category, such as Oceania and Azamara Cruises, they all tend to spend slightly longer in port. So they could be there overnight, they could be there until late in the night. So those people who really want to explore and take their time in a port of call will get that opportunity.
Yeah, which is great actually, because I know a port of call is very different in the evening. The whole ambience and the dynamic is very different in the evening to the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's a port that you really like the look of or really enjoy visiting, then absolutely go and visit during the day, jump back on board to get changed, and then even nip out in the evening and enjoy some of the bars and things like that, and soak up that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then many people even then get back on board and have dinner just before the ship sails as well. So or will take dinner in the port of call. But that is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So it is worth, when you're booking your cruises, to take a look at the times that the ship sails out of port to see whether they give you the opportunity to spend longer there in the evening.
Good advice, Andy. Would Cunard be classed as a premium ship?
It would, and actually the Cunard experience, of course, is very important part of British cruising heritage. It's famous, of course, for sailing from the UK across to New York and back again, and that's an iconic cruise to take, of course. But now that they're a 3-ship company, then there are other itineraries and other opportunities to explore other places as well.
Yep, that was my first ever cruise, actually.
Was it really?
It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Okay, moving on to ultra luxury. How do we define ultra luxury, and what ships come in this bracket?
Again, it's a very difficult category to define, because actually what's happening in the ultra luxury sector, as in all of the sectors we've looked at, is that the cruise lines are building different size ships and offering different products. So they're all developing and innovating and changing as time goes on. But you tend to find in this sector that they tend to be smaller ships, more intimate, but all inclusive. So they tend to include all of your food, all of your drinks, all of your soft drinks, as well as alcoholic drinks. Some include more than that, so they could include spa treatments or excursions, for example. But it tends to be a very inclusive holiday. So you know that the price that you've paid when you board that ship will be the price that you pretty much will have paid at the end.
I like that. I find that actually very comforting, because say you're going to the bar and you meet friends at night, you don't have to think, gosh, it's my round and there's 9 people. It's all inclusive. So it's
nice to hear you're generous on board your cruise holidays. But yes, of course, it doesn't have to be an ultra luxury ship to be all inclusive, because many of the other cruise lines offer the all inclusive experience. Many of them offer drinks packages now as well, so that you can almost add on that all inclusive part to your holiday on most cruise lines. But yes, so the ultra luxury ships, they tend to be smaller ships, they tend to be all inclusive. They also tend to attract quite an international crowd. So you'll find on board that there will be guests there from other parts of the world, Australia, North America, as well as Europe. So it's again a great opportunity if you see a holiday as that sociable experience to meet people from across the world.
And presumably on an ultra luxury ship, the ratio of staff to passenger is much higher.
Yeah, so they invest in things like adding extra crew or butlers to those staterooms and all of those things. So you do feel you get much better enhanced service from the crew that are on board. Of course, that's not to say that the service on board all of the cruise ships and all of the world isn't fantastic, because it is fantastic, but these ultra luxury lines, they tend to focus more on adding extra people so that you know that you've got that service when you want it.
And speciality dining, that does tend to be, it does raise its game, doesn't it, the dining experience?
Well, again, the dining experience on all cruise ships is fantastic across the world, but you know, again, it's about choosing the right holiday for you. But yes, the dining experience on ultra luxury ships is, of course, spectacular.
It is. I mean, something quite interesting. A lot of people wouldn't even or won't even look at an ultra luxury cruise because the initial price tag is so high. But I reckon if you break it all down, actually, you know, when you look at a sort of a lower initial price, but then you add on excursions, you add on your gratuities, you add on your wine or whatever, there's sometimes not that vast a difference.
Yeah, and cruising is well known for being great value for money, of course, because pretty much everything is included on pretty much every cruise that you can book. So, you know, including the food that you eat and the dining experience, as well as the activities and the evening entertainment. So all of that is included on all cruise holidays. So cruising is great value for money. But yes, on an ultra luxury cruise where you do pay more up front, yes, it does include some of those extra special things that does make a difference if you choose not to take the all-inclusive experience.
Yeah. Ships in this particular bracket, ultra luxury, Regent?
Yeah, so there's quite a few. So Regent, Seven Seas Cruises, Silversea, Crystal Cruises and Seabourn, they tend to be the bigger ones, but there are smaller ones as well, such as Windstar or Paul Gauguin Cruises, who tend to have smaller fleets and maybe less inclusive, but again, they add that variety if that's the ultra luxury experience you're looking for.
Great. If you're looking for a river experience, I know river cruising has grown in so much in popularity over the last few years. Who are the main players in the river cruise market?
Yes, you're right. So river cruising has grown phenomenally over the past 10 years. It continues to grow, and actually that choice that river cruising offers of European waterways to explore those European cities or further afield, so Asia, North America and places like that, which offers a great holiday choice for people who'd like to do that. Lots of players. So I think at Clear we work with about 20 different river cruise operators. So I'm not going to mention one because I'll forget some of them.
Well, you've got Viking. You've got a Viking, Amma, Scenic. I'll mention
there
them.
Are lots. I'm not going to mention it, but there are lots of river cruise operators to choose from, all offering great holidays. So yes, but they are a fantastic way to explore, for example, Europe and Asia, where you really get to see those cities and towns and that scenery that you wouldn't ordinarily get.
Yes, the fact that you are, for me, a river cruise, the fact that you are just you're immersed, not just in the cultures, because the food is easy to get, you know, from the shore and bring it right onto the ship. But I remember travelling through France and being out through Provence, and the smell of the lavender from the fields was so strong you could actually smell it on the deck.
So a couple of things about river cruise to that very point is that they're much smaller, of course, than ocean ships. So they take around 150 to 200 guests, that's all. So they're quite small and intimate. And of course, the scenery is never far from you on both sides of the river, so that you really do get that kind of touring experience, but in elegance and in luxury. It's a fantastic holiday choice.
Plus, you dock often in the middle of a port. Ports are more accessible because the ship is actually smaller. So there's different advantages. A lot of people might not want to tender, you know, from a bigger ocean ship, go in the little sort of boat to the shore. If they just want to sort of walk off, it's got that advantage.
Yeah, so often they will dock in a city centre for the evening, so that give you the opportunity to explore that city at night. We spoke about that earlier, about how great it is a destination comes to life at night with a very different atmosphere, and river cruising gives you that opportunity. But actually what's great about river cruising, of course, is that they will tend to include all of your excursions during the duration of your trip, so you really do get to see places that you wouldn't ordinarily discover.
Yeah, definitely. One thing you said in another show was be careful how many excursions, because I know on the river excursions I've done, it's wonderful, and sometimes you dock in 2 places in a day.
Yes.
But you do have to watch. It can be a bit exhausting if you're out all the time on two. It can be. Yes,
and so they're very good now at telling you that these are strenuous, or there's a lot of activity or a lot of walking in certain excursions. But of course, the great thing about a river holiday is that the ship will dock, and that you can just get off and wander into town, do some shopping, sit in a quiet cafe and have a coffee in the square and watch the world go by. It's a great way to discover a place that you've wanted to visit for some time.
Yeah.
You know, river cruising is fantastic.
And of course, the entertainment isn't going to be as plentiful as on board. You know, not as much choice, but you might get a different kind of entertainment. I've loved it if a little local dance group or band has come on board, or a glass blower or something like that.
Yeah, what's interesting about river cruise ships these days is that they're being built now with choice in mind. So some of them now have 2 restaurants on board, which they didn't have before. Some have spas and hairdressers and shops and things like that. But you're right, the space that they have for entertainment is a much more low-key. So the food is fantastic, of course, and then you can be sociable upstairs with the other guests, or you can get off and explore the town or city that you're parked in, and you can have a great holiday.
Favourite river for you? Final question, Andy. Favourite river for you?
They're all beautiful in their own way.
Not favourite cruise line, favourite river.
I love the Rhine and I love the Danube. I think they're both flow through fantastic parts of Europe, beautiful scenery, beautiful cities. I love a holiday there.
I love the Rhine, actually. I love all of those fairy tale castles. So just to go through them again, we've looked at river, very different experience from ocean. Working back up the other way, ultra luxury. What kind of people that might go for ultra luxury?
So it could be a special occasion. So if it's a special wedding anniversary, a special birthday, it's worth putting some extra money in to really have a fantastic holiday and memorable holiday. But if not, people who like the finer things in life, shall we say, so fine dining or enjoying mixing with other international guests.
Excellent. Premium, will you get a lot of international guests on premium as well?
Yes, a lot more international guests, so a lot more focus on learning, on immersion into those destinations, a bit more of a refined experience, shall we say.
Great. Small and intimate,
tends to be British guests on board. They tend to offer sailings that tend to come from the UK, so you can jump on at a local port. Tends to be smaller ships, and again, great food and great service and great entertainment, of course, but much more focused on the British holiday customer.
Excellent. Last but not least, family and contemporary. The world is the oyster in what's happening
lots
nowadays.
Of great cruise lines in this sector, lots of great ships to explore, a huge investment in innovative and exciting activities and entertainment and dining and everything like that. These are really state-of-the-art big cruise ships where you can have a great holiday.
You can. And if somebody's watching and they want to dip their toe, forgive the pun, into the water of cruising, is there a particular cruise that you might recommend or a destination for a first-time cruiser?
So if you're not sure whether you're going to like a cruise holiday, by the way, of course you are, but if you're not sure whether you are, then a lot of cruise lines out of the UK will offer shorter cruises. There could be a 2 or a 3 night sailing to places that you may know, so places like Bruges, the beautiful city of Bruges, or Hamburg or Amsterdam, or places like that, where it's a short sailing. It may even be over a weekend, where you can try the cruise experience and then get back, and of course you'll then book your first full-length cruise holiday when you get back.
Excellent advice. Thank you, Andy.
My
pleasure. Thank you so much. Great. OK. And thank you to you for watching. I'll see you again next time here on TV Cruise Channel. See you soon.